Imagine waking up tomorrow in a world where every problem had already been solved. Your food appears without effort. Your home is always warm. There are no predators, no shortages, no disasters, no struggle for survival. It sounds like the ultimate dream. For most of human history, survival has been the central challenge of life. Our ancestors spent countless generations searching for food, avoiding danger, enduring harsh climates, and competing for limited resources. Nearly every aspect of civilization, from agriculture to technology, has been an attempt to make life safer, easier, and more comfortable. So if comfort is what we've always pursued, then more comfort should make life better. At least, that's what common sense would suggest. But in the late 1960s, a scientist named John Calhoun conducted an experiment that challenged that assumption. He created what appeared to be a perfect world, not for humans, but for mice. And what happened inside that world would leave scientists debating its meaning for decades. Calhoun built a carefully controlled environment where every physical need was satisfied. Food was always available. Water never ran out. Disease was minimized. The temperature remained comfortable year-round. There were no predators, no environmental threats, and no competition for basic resources. The mice would never need to struggle simply to stay alive. In theory, they had everything they needed to flourish. Then Calhoun placed 8 mice inside, 4 males, 4 females, healthy young adults, and he began to watch. At first, the results seemed exactly what anyone would expect. The mice explored their surroundings, established territories, built nests, and adapted to their new environment. Without threats or shortages, reproduction accelerated. New litters appeared. The population grew steadily, then rapidly. From 8 mice came dozens. From dozens came hundreds. The colony expanded faster than it ever could have in the wild. To outside observers, the experiment appeared to be a remarkable success. After all, if survival becomes easier, shouldn't life prosper? Shouldn't a population thrive when every obstacle has been removed? For a while, that's exactly what seemed to be happening. But beneath the surface, subtle changes were beginning to emerge. Changes that had nothing to do with food, nothing to do with water, nothing to do with shelter. As the colony grew, the social structure that normally organized mouse society began to strain. In the wild, young mice eventually leave established territories and seek opportunities elsewhere. They create new social groups and establish new roles for themselves. But inside Calhoun's enclosure, there was nowhere else to go. Every mouse existed within the same enclosed world. As more animals were born, meaningful positions within the colony became increasingly difficult to find. Young males struggled to establish territory. Social hierarchies became unstable. Traditional patterns of behavior started to break down. Some mice responded with increased aggression. Others responded by withdrawing entirely. And that distinction is important. When people hear about Universe 25, they often imagine chaos and violence. Violence did occur, but one of the most striking findings wasn't aggression. It was apathy. Many mice simply stopped participating in normal social life. They stopped competing, stopped exploring, stopped engaging with others. They became passive observers within their own society. Calhoun watched as some mice spent nearly all of their time eating, sleeping, and grooming themselves. They avoided confrontation. They avoided courtship. They avoided responsibility. Physically, they looked healthy. In some ways, they looked healthier than any other mice in the enclosure. Their fur remained clean. Their bodies carried few scars. They appeared calm and comfortable. But socially, something had changed. They no longer seemed interested in contributing to the future of the colony. Calhoun eventually gave these animals a memorable name. He called them the Beautiful Ones. The name captured the strange contradiction they represented. They looked perfect, yet they had largely abandoned the behaviors necessary for the survival of their species. They did not fight. They rarely reproduced. They withdrew from the social fabric of the colony. The future no longer interested them, and they weren't alone. As the experiment continued, reproduction began to decline. Social bonds weakened. Maternal care deteriorated. The behaviors that once held the community together became increasingly rare. Eventually, the population stopped growing. This is the moment that makes Universe 25 so unsettling. The colony did not collapse because food ran out. The colony did not collapse because disease spread. The colony did not collapse because predators invaded. Every physical resource remained available. The environment itself remained stable. Yet the society began a slow and irreversible decline. Years passed, fewer young mice were born. Fewer survived. More individuals became isolated. The social structure continued to weaken. One generation failed to pass essential behaviors to the next, and gradually the colony lost its ability to renew itself. The final phase of the experiment was remarkably quiet. No dramatic catastrophe occurred. No sudden disaster struck. The mice simply grew older, and as they died, there were fewer and fewer young animals to replace them. Eventually, the population reached zero. The last mouse died. The enclosure remained intact. Food remained available. Water continued flowing. The paradise survived. Its inhabitants did not. The experiment was over. But the debate it created was only beginning. For decades, people have argued about what Universe 25 actually means. Many interpreted it as proof that comfort destroys societies. The lesson seemed obvious. Remove struggle, and life loses its purpose. Create paradise, and civilization collapses. But John Calhoun himself saw something more complicated. He did not argue that abundance was inherently harmful. He did not claim that comfort alone caused the collapse. Instead, he focused on a different factor: meaningful roles. Calhoun believed that healthy societies require more than resources. They require participation. They require opportunities for individuals to contribute, compete, cooperate, create, and matter. A society is not merely a collection of bodies sharing resources. It is a network of relationships, responsibilities, and purposes. When individuals can no longer find meaningful places within that network, the system begins to weaken. The food remained, the water remained, the shelter remained, but the invisible framework that gave life direction slowly disappeared. And perhaps that's what makes Universe 25 so fascinating. The experiment wasn't really about mice. Not entirely. It was about a question that every civilization eventually faces. What do people need beyond survival? Modern society has solved problems that would have seemed impossible to our ancestors. We live longer. We have access to more information. We enjoy comforts that kings could not have imagined. Yet many people still struggle with loneliness, with meaning, with purpose, with the feeling that they don't belong. Universe 25 doesn't provide simple answers to these challenges. Humans are not mice. Our societies are vastly more complex. Our psychology is different. Our choices are different. But the experiment forces us to consider a possibility. Perhaps thriving requires more than comfort. Perhaps human beings need challenges to overcome, goals to pursue, communities to belong to, responsibilities that make them feel necessary. Because survival answers only one question: how do we stay alive? Meaning answers another: why? More than 50 years after the experiment ended, the story of Universe 25 continues to resonate because that question remains unresolved. What makes a life meaningful? What makes a society healthy? And if paradise alone cannot provide the answer, what can? The mice never found out. We still have the opportunity to try.